I'm going to read a short excerpt from Capital, chapter 31. It's on the genesis of the industrial capitalist. The discovery of gold and silver in America, the extirpation, enslavement, and entombment in mines of the aboriginal population, the beginning of the conquest and looting of the East Indies, the turning of Africa into a warren for the commercial hunting of blackskins, signalized the rosy dawn of the era of capitalist production. These idyllic proceedings are the chief momenta of primitive accumulation. These methods depend in part on brute force, for instance, the colonial system. But they all employ the power of the state, the concentrated and organized force of society, to hasten, hothouse fashion, the process of transformation of the feudal mode of production into the capitalist mode, and to shorten the transition. Force is the midwife of every old society pregnant with a new one. It is itself an economic power. End of quote. Now, what I like about this quote is, I think that it is telling us a lot about globalization and about globalized capitalism. This is how it all started. This is how capitalism and globalized capitalism came into being. It wasn't all nice and shiny and cozy. It was very brutal, and it was very racialized. Colonialism as a precondition for capitalism, it's probably capitalism wouldn't have come into being in the first place if it hadn't been for colonialism. And the racial dimension of capitalism, I think, is also shown here pretty well in terms of how the native populations were treated. And not to forget the importance of the triangular slave trade, that without the slave trade, capitalism may not even have come into being because it was so important for primitive accumulation. And that is often forgotten. If people talk about capitalism or the origins of capitalism, it's all about, sheer economics or, other stuff that's in capital. But the racial dimension and how important it was in bringing capitalism into being is often not given the right or the enough attention. And I think this is very important to understanding Marx's work in general, because he very well knew, as he wrote in a letter in 1866, and I quote, "Labor in white skin cannot emancipate itself where the black skin is branded." And that is a pretty clear statement also. If the working class is racially divided, it will never be able to emancipate itself. So what we need to look at, if we want to move into the direction of a freer society, of a socialist society, we need to look at the intersections between races and capitalism, also of course gender and other issues, but here this is the focus, and understand them and overcome them in a joint struggle for liberation. And I think that is the upper side of this underside that is brought out in this quote from the 31st chapter of Capital.